the Within Orb podcast. Come get Within Orb. Hello, my name is Jenn Zahrt, and welcome to Within Orb, a production of the Celestial Arts Education Library, a podcast bringing people together around the love of astrology, books. Join me as I interview people about the astrology books that changed their life and practice. You can support the podcast at withinorb.com. Welcome to Within Orb, and today we are flying all the way to one of my favorite cities in the entire world, and actually near a neighborhood that I lived in that city, Berlin, to talk to Giorgia Pecora. Giorgia, welcome to the show.
Hi, Hallöchen.
Hallöchen. So, schönen guten Tag. How are you and what's up?
I'm good. I just landed back in Berlin because I just moved to Barcelona. I lived here for almost 10 years or so. It's this nice way feeling of going back to visit family because I'm from Sicily. So, I'm studying Italian, but it's nice to have all these small islands to go to. So, yeah, it feels like a nice summer, quite retrograde one, with all that implies. But yeah, very magic specific city. Berlin got lots of Scorpio placements, so you could really, really feel it.
I love it. I love it. And I'm also so envious of your European, jet set life. I've just spent so much of my life also, when I was studying German, living in Berlin. And you also have some experience with the British community, which I love. So yeah, we've sort of been circling around each other all these years without actually connecting until now.
Yeah. I just found your project through one of my students, and it was lovely. And then I was checking what you were doing, and I was like, oh, wow, that sounds amazing. So as I was mentioning to you earlier, I've been moving between Berlin. I lived in Glastonbury, the UK for a while, and I'm doing some things in Lisbon. With this Mars in Sag, it keeps us quite busy. I'm saying us because also you got the Mars in Sag tribe. So it's a bit to keep us in one place at times.
The zone of arcs of astrology.
Yeah. The idea of having all these small pockets everywhere. It's amazing. I'm very, very blessed with that.
Well, I do remember before it consciously came to my mind, you work with making masks in astrology, and I find that so brilliant. Can you speak a little bit more about that practice that you share with the world?
Yeah. So I studied shamanism, and then I studied astro-shamanism. So there is this teacher, it's called Franco Santoro. He's been teaching things in Italy for some time. And then one of the things that I've been noticing with astrology, it's nice to read books, but also astrology could get extremely intellectual. So I think it's really important to, for me, astrology is a bit about practice. So I love to bring the opposite of everything. It's like, okay, I'm a double Aquarian. I'm trying to do as much as I can in my life to bring this Leo out. And what is a better way to do this through theater? So what I do is I do some sort of thing that I would say like family constellations, like psychodrama, but with astrology. So I put the chart in motion. I have all these masks. So it's amazing to see someone embodying your chart. Yeah, it's quite specific. I remember when I saw mine and someone was doing my mask inside. By the end of it, she came to me. She was like, oh my God, this must be so exhausting to live. It was just running around the house. But, you could do this with a group. So the idea is that you're wearing the masks, and that helps you to channel and connect with certain energy or even an aspect of your chart. Or you just can work like a single aspect in your chart. Or in general, for example, sometimes as a warm-up, I do one thing that is called astrodance, and we connect with every single planet. And you just observe somatically what happens in your body. And sometimes you see, because I always try things on my own. I always experience them first. I was doing this the other day, and I have a sun in the 12th house in Aquarius. So it's not really the brightest sun, let's put it that way. And every time I try to do sun dances, it really takes a minute because I really and I see the expression, I was literally on the floor, just staring at the ceiling. And I was like, what an interesting representation of a sun in the 12th house, just staring out. Yeah, so that's the way in which I work with masks. And then we do rituals at the end. So the idea is that you don't have to complete necessarily you usually work with an intention. It's you want to work for career or relationships, but it just comes naturally. I love to look at planets there's this gang, right? So is there someone that could help you to get somewhere? So maybe you see Venus So this person with this Venus masks just getting close to their sun and be like, look, what do you need? So it's a very fun, interesting, creative way to work with your chart, because I feel sometimes we get these stories around the chart. With the master, just go beyond that, because the body sometimes knows things that we don't know. Yeah.
The body knows.
Body knows.
Speaking of knowing, let's go all the way back to the beginning. What was your first astrology book?
My first astrology book was Lezioni di Astrologia, so astrology lessons by Lisa Morpurgo. So what's the thing? So in Italy, back then, I feel like I'm getting older, like back in the day.
Before the war, before the plague.
Yeah, before the war. So the thing is that there were not many astrological like books for beginners like 15 years ago. But there was this one astrologer that she created her own style of astrology, like it's literally morpurghiana astrology, because like she had the like 2 of the missing planets. She has very specific idea. She was a Mars in Gemini, so very, very opinionated for sure. You could really see this in her books. I mean, she's quite brutal at times, because you read things as like, if you don't get it, it's because like, maybe your brain is too slow. Like, oh, okay, Lisa, fine.
Wow.
Yeah. And she got very technical. So she wrote these 3 books, because the interesting thing is that she was a translator at first. I mean, this is something that I noticed with many astrologers. Also study translation as well, that are like either teachers or interpreters or astrologer, like, and then we move into the astrological world. And she was this very like uber rational person. And then by accident, she translated a book of some astrologer that I remember. And then she got really interested in that. So she had this quite analytical view on that. She was a Taurus, and she created these books, one about planets, one about aspects, and one about houses. And there were like the 3 books to go to. And then she created a 4th that, I have to say, let's be honest, I haven't finished it. This is quite like for Italian like readers and people interested in astrology. This is the book. It's called the Convitato di Pietra, and it's like some sort of theoretical thing. I still have no idea. Like, this thing is there. It's in my bookshelf. I'm keeping it. It's just like one that I know that to go back there, that day will come.
On the island, maybe.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna park that for your island pigs.
Yeah. So is that one day I know will come, but in the meantime, for sure, Lezioni di Astrologia was the one, because also it was very technical, but now, looking back, it was so deep. There was a description of like the book about the houses. It's a bit like Susportas, the 12 houses. Like you got this very nice, description, so with history and examples, and they found in now many other books. So for sure we suggest her, but that's the thing. It's foundational astrology, but it's not for beginners at the same time.
Wow. So you just jumped straight in the deep end.
Yeah.
Is it been translated into English?
I don't think so.
Okay. What was the name of the title that you said of the 4th book? What's the translation of the 4th book's title? Something about stones?
That's a great question. It's a very like what I'm doing right now. I'm literally Googling that.
Oh, okay. In Convitato di Pietra. What?
Now it says like the stone guest. Yeah, because here is like connected to Molière. Comedy is like the Feast of Stones. So there is also reference. Is this idea of the quest, because she went on her own quest with her own system.
Wow. Feast of Stones.
Quite a very beautiful, interesting book. There is another Italian astrologer, but then, we're just going to open many layers.
Yeah.
Maybe you have another question.
It's like a cibola. It's an onion just unfolding. Okay, so, but I do want to get you back on that island, and you probably won't take that one. That sounds like the 4th book sounds like something that's more of like when you've really run the gamut and you're just at the end of it and you're like, all right, let's just circle back and see what this is about. Because it does sound like it's a little bit more than astrology too.
I moved a million times, right? And I'm always carrying this book with me, because I believe, I believe in synchronic moments with the profession I'm doing. And and every time I look at it, and then I'm like, is this the time? Now that I just moved to Barcelona, like the other week I was looking at it, I was like, maybe now. I'm like, no. So on the island, yeah, maybe down.
Okay.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Imagine stepping into a room of 5,000 astrology books, turning a corner and stepping into a room of 2,000 more. The Celestial Arts Education Library is every astrologer's dream, and it can be yours. I invite you to come support CAELi before you can visit physically. Your support will mean the creation of 52 new episodes of Within Orb next year, 4 issues of the CAELi Review, our inaugural journal, and countless book talks, events, classes for our community. Visit our website, www.caeli.institute/support, to select your level of care. Please help support CAELi into the future, our future, so that we may study the future together. Thank you for listening. Please enjoy the rest of the show. So we're going to send you, where should we send you this time? Maybe we'll just send you to the middle of the Atlantic and you get to hang out on the black beaches of the Azores.
Oh, that would be great. I would be on my Neptune line.
Yeah, there you go. So we're going to stick you out there and really go full on with the astrological alphabet on your Neptune line in the Azores. And we're going to give you 3 books to take in your luggage. What are you going to take with you?
The first one I will bring with me, it's more like for emotional reasons, and I always go back to like as an oracle, is Pluto. Is Evolutionary Astrology, Jeff Green, Pluto Volume 1. It's like it's 2 volumes. Disclaimer. It's not an easy book to read. That is the result of channeling that Jeff Green like made like in a week. It was just because it also was a yogini. Mm-hmm. It's just channeled. And, you know, with Evolutionary Astrology, was this thing they started together with forests, and it was the 2 of them. And then eventually they created 2 schools. So I'm more like on I love seeing forest work, but I'm more like on the green side. Because this was one of the first books I came across, and that's when I completely fell in love with evolutionary astrology. And every time I go back to that book, a useful reminder about, you know, my life mission. So it's quite deep in its own way. And also, again, it's not really easy to read. Most of my students complain about that. They look at it and they're like, oh God, it doesn't flow. It's not a book that is there just to be enjoyed, you know, like I think it's really the struggle of the soul. There is this metaphysical aspect with it. And I think also what we're talking about, this karmic concepts, sometimes our mind starts fights against that, you know, what does it mean? Can I rebel against it? And it's one of these books that triggers all these questions.
Yeah. Yeah. I first read that one in the 90s, and it feels like that was the right time for that book. Like in the premillennial 90s, you know, you've got this tension and this kind of societal moment of, you know, this rebellion, the riot girl kind of things, you know, and you're just kind of, the goth was still important somehow. The crow kept coming out, you know.
Yeah. It was like in 20 something, and I got like 2 people mentioning this book to me. And then a 3rd person just gave the book to me as a gift. And I find it very I was like, oh, you know, this other person mentioned this book like the other week. And it was like, I saw this book and I thought it was like, why everyone is thinking about me. And then I read it and I was like, whoa. So that, yeah.
I think it chose you. It was finding you.
Yeah. Like I had this very interesting relationship with books. It's like, I love when they just pop up. So that's the reason why I was saying it's more an emotional thing more than else. But I think, for anyone that is interested in evolutionary and karmic astrology, metaphysics, I'd recommend it.
Well, I didn't know that detail about it being channeled. I know that he wrote it coming back from being a soldier in Vietnam, which informs some of the intensity there. But I didn't know that it was a channeled experience.
Yeah, you know, it's also interesting to see, I don't know if you do the same, with the astrologers that I'm quite inspired by, I always look at their own charts. And it got a moon in Pisces the same degree as I do.
Oh.
Like a level of familiarity. And I always notice that with some people with whom there is a certain level of resonance, you'll also see this in the chart. So yeah, probably I just like the open channel of that moon in Pisces, because, you know, it's not the most Virgo book. So yeah.
Amazing. Okay, so what would your second pick be?
So the second one, I mean, now I'm gonna cheat a bit. It's like, I'm not sure it's one, because like Rudhyar is my favorite writer. Like I read most of his things, and, you know, on the way in the metro, like before having our conversation, because I think I wrote The Planetarization of Consciousness. That is an amazing book. Any of his work is just really mind-opening, because the thing of Rudhyar, and this is something that Liz Green also said some years ago, was like, in order to be a good astrologer, you need to know lots of things that don't have to do with astrology. I think that was the thing with Rudhyar, because he was an artist, it was a writer, it was a poet, it was a musician. It was many things, so you could really breathe this in his writings, right?
Yeah.
So person-centered astrology, I think it's a great book. Even the 12 houses of Rudhyar, I think with all the books that have to do with houses, that's the deepest, most complete expression of. So anything that has to do with Rudhyar, go for it. He has this Buddhist imprinting, Western, Eastern confrontation that is just mind-opening. So it's not the best astrologer if you're looking for a cookbook, for sure.
Yeah.
We need cookbooks, of course we do. But
do we?
I think we do. I've been sitting with them. I will manage to write a cookbook. I'm definitely not that kind of person. But I have a school myself, and I got some of my students that are like with aspects, let's say, a book I won't bring with me on an island, but it's very useful. Aspects in Astrology by Sue Tompkins.
Okay.
There's something that really relaxed the nervous system of my students, because I do all these things. It's like just try to imagine things, and we got these games, we do the class, and I'm like, amazing, but do you have a book with a list of the aspects?
You're like, it's in your body. Did you not see?
And then I'm like, think about a metaphor and just trying to put the words together, because I always do these exercises, like, let's say, Moon and Saturn. So we do all the keywords and then we put them together. So it's just like, I don't know, limited emotions or boundaries in it, whatever. And they're like, no, I just need the cookbook. So I think at the beginner stage, they are quite useful. So the teacher mama is like, please just write them and let me know.
Yeah. So, it sounds like, of all the conversations, it's coming to a point now. We're many episodes into this show, and a lot of people do bring Rudhyar up. And recently, Alan Oken has been talked about a lot. And he wrote 3 books smashed into the complete Alan Oken. And now I'm thinking, like, I know there used to be a website. I think it's called Caldera or Cadera.
Yeah.
Don't quote me on that, anybody. But it sounds like there needs to be this massive encyclopedic complete Rudhyar.
Yeah.
Like one of those books that's just going to be huge. Like you wouldn't even be able to take it with you because it would violate your weight restrictions on the tiny plane to your island. But I feel like a complete Rudhyar kind of needs to happen.
Yeah. So actually, if I can bring with me an ebook in which I just can have, the connection to this one archive website, I'll be good to go.
And what's the name of the website again?
If you just write like Rudhyar free archive, it's just going to pop up on Google.
How can you follow that with a third pick? What would your third book be?
So I think one would be Astrology, Karma and Transformation, maybe by Arroyo. That's, it's classic. It's just like, okay, Georgia, that's an easy pick. It's a quite chaotic book. Each chapter is just bringing up certain things that you just don't expect. So you're just like, okay, I don't know where I'm going with this. So in terms of like releasing control, or having an idea of what you're learning, it just really, again, expands your awareness. Like when I read it many years ago, there was this whole conversation about Saturn in the 12th house that it just kind of like stayed with me. I was like, oh, wow, never thought about that. And it just opens all these layers. And it's one of these books that you could read anytime. It's for any level. Like, it just speaks to you. It doesn't matter which kind of astrology you've been doing, which stage you're at. When someone has this capacity to write something that could reach everyone, I'm like, wow, kudos to you. So there is a special mention. This is in Spanish.
Okay.
It's called Lights and Shadows in the Geological Tree. So there was this Daniel Dancourt Macias. It was one of the first astrologers that dealt with astrogenealogy. That is one of the things specialized with transgenerational astrology, karmic astrology, like family trees, trauma, and all this sorts of stuff. He wrote lots of nice gems. So it was one of the first ones, but also not many people talk about him. So it's more like special mention for Spanish speakers here. If you're like into transgenerational astrology, Daniel Dancourt is one that Luces o sombras del árbol genealógico. That's extra.
I love that. Awesome. Okay. So you said you have a school, and I'm wondering, do you have a list of books you give them for like when they're just starting out? Or like what would you tell a beginner to read?
Yeah, I mean, I had like 5 different courses, and they have like this extra, like bibliography they can follow. Like one for sure is astrology for yourself. It's something that helps my students to just align and relax the nervous system, because it's like an exercise book. Can we find that way? It's just like it's divided. It's very Virgo-like again. It's divided planet by planet. And then you got the sentences. It's like, okay, feel like complete this sentence. And my Venus is in Taurus. So da, 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 da. So when you're starting, I think that's great. The second one is like the 12 houses by Sporters for sure. Another one, anything that's to do with Stephen Forrest. I feel like it's a bit the grandpa of astrology. It's just like this warm voice that you can really read, and it's very nice. You're drinking your tea, you study astrological course, and then you're reading like the inner sky, and you're like, oh wow, amazing. So like these are definitely 3 picks that I would suggest any beginner.
I love that. So sweet. Well, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule and active school teaching life, and just like loving having this time with you, and really appreciate it.
Yeah, I love books. I'm like, books and astrology. I'm like, this any day, every day.
Absolutely. It's a lifestyle for sure. So where can people find you on the internet and in the world?
I'm quite active on Instagram as a good millennial. So my school is called Visionary Astrology. I teach foundation course, karmic courses, relationship ones, and transit one. So every 6 months I teach 2 different courses. So it depends, which part of the year we're at. It's very much community oriented school. You could do things on your own, but most of the times the idea is that it's a small group and we gather and there is a forum and we share ideas, stories, pictures, memories. I like the emotional aspect of learning. It's not one of these kind of cold, me just reading some slides, and it's also very colorful. Like, I believe in nice aesthetic. If it's beautiful, it's just easier to learn.
For sure. For sure. Is this in person or mostly online?
So the teachings are online, but I'm doing lots of live workshops. So mostly at the moment between Berlin, Lisbon, and London. So when I work with because I work with experiential astrology, so we're working with masks and embodied things, it's like, I need the 3-dimensional experience. So I need people to be there. Yes, the 2 things.
Amazing. All right. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, and wishing you all the best with this project.
Thank you for listening to Within Orb. To learn more about the Celestial Arts Education Library, or to become a member, visit our website at CAELi.institute. That's www.caeli.institute. If you enjoyed this episode, please help spread the word. Follow or subscribe to Within Orb in your podcatcher of choice, rate it 5 stars, or write us a happy review. This helps others find the show. We also want to give a big thanks to the indie band The E-Block for contributing their song Wake Up for our intro and outro music. You can find them at their website, eblockband.com. This is Jenn Zahrt, signing off for now. See you next time.